I'm here with my cubes again, and I have a question for you. If you're watching this, that probably means you've seen some of my Rubik's Cube pictures before, but I'm wondering if you can tell me what this looks like. I can add a few more cubes, but they might not really help. What I'm hoping you will see, though, is that this is Golgotha, the place of the skull, big fancy word. This is the place where Jesus died. You can see the cross in the middle and a few other crosses beside. When Jesus died, all of his disciples were scared and sad, of course, and they were scared for themselves, but they were scared of what was going to happen to their movement. Well, they were pleasantly surprised, of course, a few days later when Jesus came back. When Jesus rose from the dead. But just because Jesus was risen, it didn't mean that the disciples knew what to do. So this week, on Thursday, was a special day in the Christian calendar. It was called Ascension Day. Now, you might have missed it. Your parents might have missed it, but a long time ago, a lot of people, when they were kids, they got to stay home from school on Ascension Day. Well, this year, we all got to stay home from school on Ascension Day. But the story of Ascension Day is the day when Jesus went up to heaven. And so we can copy that story with these pictures. Now, I said before that the disciples were surprised and happy to find out that Jesus had come back. But it still didn't mean that they knew what to do. So in the Ascension Day story, Jesus comes to be with his disciples, and they have a question for him. Their question is, Jesus, today are you going to come into your glory? Which sounds a little bit weird. It's a weird question. But what they're asking was, today, Jesus, are you going to make yourself king? But Jesus didn't want to do that. Jesus didn't want to be king, and he was a little bit sad and disappointed that his disciples didn't realize that. You see, the disciples wanted to make him king. They wanted him to become super powerful so that he could be in charge and that he could kick out the bad guys. But Jesus was going up to heaven, and it was going to be up to the disciples, to carry on his work. So even though Jesus had come back, even though Jesus had a plan, the disciples still had a different plan. Well, Jesus gathered them together, but when he appeared to them, the Bible says that they were afraid. They were afraid, and they thought it would make them feel better if Jesus would bring that kingdom in, the one that they were asking him about. Well, Jesus did talk about a kingdom all the time. A lot of his stories started with, the kingdom of heaven is like. And so they thought Jesus was going to kick out the bad guys. But Jesus had let the bad guys think they had won. Jesus had let the bad guys kill him, even though he had the power to stop them, even though he had the power to come back. So Jesus tells them that in a little while they're going to get the power they need to do the work that they've been given. But before that, he sends them, he gives them a blessing, and then after that, he goes up into heaven. So I want you to remember the story of Ascension Day, because sometimes we are like the disciples. We've got a hard job to do, and we don't know how we're going to do it, and we're still afraid. The disciples shouldn't have been afraid, but Jesus knew that they were. So he wanted to reassure them, to help them to feel better, and he said, "Peace be with you." And then he blessed them before going up. So we're going to make Jesus go up into heaven pretty soon. But I want you to think, the next time that you're confused, just remember that the people who worked closely with Jesus all the time, for a long time, even though they had been taught by Jesus for a long time, were still confused about what they were supposed to do and who they were supposed to be. All right, so let's watch Jesus ascend. That's what ascend means, go up. Let's watch Jesus ascend into heaven.